Hello, my name is Mike Pfaff, and this is my YouTube channel, Living in the Illusion. Oh, we always have an interesting discussion here, and today will be no different. So let me read off my little paper what our discussion is going to be for today. Here's what it says. Interesting fact. Scientific evidence is actually a fantasy. Oh, how interesting is that? And how controversial might that be? So we have a model, and we're going to expose it a little bit at a time so we can talk about it, because it is quite complicated in some ways, and other ways straightforward. So let's us unwrap some of our model. And here we have, if you look here, we have a telescope. Right here, it's an instrument. And we have an eyeball of a scientific observer who is looking at this evidence. Now the evidence is here. The eyeball is here. The instrument is doing whatever the instrument does. And so sensory information up here at the end of the eyeball, going to our next part of the model, is the optic nerve. And what goes down the optic nerve? Do you think the evidence here? No. Raw data, information in the form of electrical impulses going through the optic nerve. Now, from our other models, we can take a look and expose a little bit more of our model. And we see that we have our lens of perception. Our lens of perception receives the raw data. Now, what's in this lens? A lot of stuff. One of them I want to point out that you might not have thought about that's in this lens. Your programming, your religious convictions, your schooling, your public schooling, which tends to make everything we all see uniform within the belief system of the egoic world. So you might think about, I'm trying to think of the guy's name, who has now passed, but I used to like his songs a lot. I can't think of it now, but maybe you will, because he wrote one that was very interesting about this schooling. And it was, and they all live in houses, little houses in a row. There's a pink one, and a blue one, and a blue one, and a yellow one, and a purple one. And they're all made out of ticky-tacky, and they all look just the same. And this is what you have here as your programming in the egoic world. And they're all made out of ticky-tacky. And they're designed to make everything the same. within the belief system of the egoic world. And they do a fine job. And if you are outside of that, you are alone or ostracized or made fun of. So anytime you are different than the ticky-tacky that you are programmed to be, you will have problems. Now also in this lens of perception is your belief system, which is greatly related to your programming. And you can see how they go together. So now we have, so far, we have an observer looking through an instrument at evidence, and the evidence is raw data, which means it's meaningless at this time. And when you put it through the filter, which is your lens of perception, some of this information around the evidence will be filtered out. And you will not know what evidence was filtered out. Now, I've had some comments that said, well, I know everything is filtered. No, you don't. You don't know what you filtered out because you don't know what all your beliefs are that are in this. You really do not know all your programming because some of it is very subtle and enters your mind at a very young age, before you're consciously aware. But it's there in the subconscious and affects how you observe your world. Now, observation. This is an observation the person is making here, our good scientist. Another scientific fact that we talked about in other videos. It is impossible. Now notice how I frame that word. It is impossible to make a pure objective observation. Period. Now, in the egoic world, they say, oh no, I know everything about me and I can set aside my beliefs and look at things objectively. Impossible. Scientifically, it's impossible. And I'll try to reference that video up there in which we ask AI, oh, can you have a purely objective observation? And the answer very clearly, no, you can't. So here we have the evidence. Here we have that evidence filtered through our belief system so that whatever we look at is going to match what we believe. It's not what's there because you threw out a lot of information and you can't make an objective observation. And it's raw data, which is meaningless as received until you push it through this lens of perception. Now, let us look at the rest of the model. As you push it through your lens of perception, you get output data. Your output data is not your input data. I didn't know, I want you to make sure you understand that. Your output data, after you push it through your lens of perception and throw information out, is not what you started with here. It's what you want based on your belief system, the output evidence to be that matches your belief system and the egoic world's belief. even though on a conscious level, society or the scientific community may say, oh, new information, new information. That's not new information, because everything is here in the infinite field of everything. Right at your lens of perception is everything. An infinite criteria of everything. Criteria may not be the right word, but that's what came up. So you are filtering out what's there to get information that matches your belief system. So it's not what the input information was. It is what you believe was there based upon what you wanted there because of your belief system. Some of the information will be false information. You will see things and interpret them in a way that is not there. And you might think about a little child sleeping at night and wakes up and looks over and sees a shadow moving around the window and has all kinds of beliefs on what it is, and will never know whether it was the curtain blowing in the wind, a tree outside moving, all kinds of stuff. So you will come up with a belief, it's a monster, oh, and it'll be false, but you won't know it until much later. Also, again, all of this on the secondary side of your lens of perception is subjective, not objective. It's based upon your lens of perception. Now, if you were raised in another environment, another country, another scientific community that thought a little bit different, you'd have a different outcome. And from this outcome, you create the meaning. You create the meaning, and which is constructed through your belief system, or the belief system of the scientist that is doing it at the time. And so what you end up with here, which you believe is very scientific, is actually make-believe. Now you can rationalize it, you can analyze it, you can philosophize that you can have a purely objective observation. You cannot. I would say, well, we'll have peer reviews and we'll look at it and other people will look at it. Yes, you will. Guess what the model will be as they develop their experiment? Very same thing. Now, they may agree or they may not agree. And they say, oh, they don't agree. That means the first observations and created output isn't right. Well, the second one isn't right either. Why? Same thing. They're using the same model. They might even have mostly the same programming, the same college, the same high school curriculum or books. It might be a very important college that other colleges are following, and it's all intermixed. And they're all made out of ticky-tacky. And they all look just the same. It's an illusion. Because we live in an illusion, and we don't recognize it. Nothing is what you think it is. And as I said before, the truth is not important. However, what you believe is true. Now, that's important. And that's what this is. And it's just make-believe. Now, it may be very successful. You may be able to reproduce it. But you are doing it in the illusion. And the results, no matter how successful, are still going to be illusionary, because this is where you're at, in the illusion. And part of our job is to being you wanted a purpose, part of your job is to see behind the illusion and what's really there, and who you really are. Forgot to mention the quote from the Course in Miracles. And it goes along with what we're talking about. So the add-on is not going to be that much difficult. And here's what the Course says. It is impossible not to believe what you see. Now that's kind of straightforward. It's impossible not to believe what you see, or what the senses input, and your interpretation of that. But it is equally impossible to see what you don't believe. And that goes along with our model. And again, here is our model. If you don't believe it through your lens of perception, you throw it out. You'll never see it. That's why you never know what you throw away. Be good to yourself. And we look forward to seeing you next time, right here, as always, in the illusion. Bye now.